is right here at the beginning, or do you want to say that actually it would be better, right? Okay. 10 minutes.
Good morning, colleagues, and thank you very much for being here with us. It is a pleasure to be able to facilitate this long-term finance workshop, and I know we've eaten into a little bit of the time already, so I will keep this very brief. I was to give you a background, but in fact, Ambassador Mekwar gave you a very good background already. Save and except, I would like to just recall that the LTF program, of course, started in 2012, but in the context of the 100 billion goal. In 2013, you did some technical and analytical work to look at different dimensions of pathways. And then moving forward, the Secretariat was requested to organize these in-session workshops on an annual basis based on themes you yourselves selected. And I think in general, we can agree that the themes for these workshops have been largely geared towards the scaling up of climate finance through predictable and transparent manners. And we've been zeroing in on how exactly we might be able to use these workshops to develop our thinking on precisely doing that. You know very well what the previous workshops have focused on. In 2014, the focus was on enhancing clarity with regard to mobilization. In 2014, you also had the first submissions of biennial strategies, strategies and approaches from developed countries. And then following in 2015, 2016, the LTF workshops focused on adaptation finance, the needs for support to developing country parties, cooperation on enhanced enabling environments, and support for readiness activities. And as Ambassador Mekwar just said, it did contribute to our understanding, at least in terms of the country-driven processes of adaptation needs, the challenges with regards to access to adaptation finance, the needs for enhanced tracking of adaptation flows, and the role of private finance in adaptation. So with that background, I will now introduce the 2017 theme. In deciding upon this theme, we were in an entirely different context with the entry into force of the Paris Agreement. As we've already heard, the theme with a view to scaling up finance will focus on three particular areas: articulating and translating needs identified in country-driven processes into projects and programs, role of policies and enabling environments for mitigation and adaptation finance, and facilitating enhanced access. As you will have seen from the program that has been published, our approach will be to focus on the first one, the needs, and then the last, the enhancing access. And we will treat with the role of policies and enabling environments as a cross-cutting issue. So what do we expect? What do we want to achieve? It's definitely a deepening of our knowledge of what is happening on the ground. What are the challenges, as well as what are the opportunities, and how can these lessons contribute to the ongoing effort to scale up climate finance? To this end, we will have these facilitated discussions that are technical but action-oriented at the same time. And to the extent possible, we would want to generate concrete findings and conclusions. As you know, the outcome of this workshop, as well as next year's, will feed into the 2018 High-Level Ministerial Dialogue on Climate Finance. So we would want to encourage your interactions to aim for better understanding of the needs, identify the steps and actions that can be undertaken to improve access to climate finance, and aim for greater clarity on policy and regulatory environments needed to scale up climate finance. I think we should reflect back on what we did achieve in 2016 with the workshops. We will be expanding the scope here. We focus on adaptation finance. Now we're expanding to adaptation and mitigation. We likewise want to expand on our deliberations with respect to the challenges to direct access, and then to try to have a more in-depth consideration of how exactly we enhance access to both public and private finance. Additionally, we will have a presentation from a representative of the International Chamber of Commerce who will share his views on policies and enabling environments for private climate investments. So with that I will turn it over to Stefan, who could just give us a little background on the preparation and documentation of the workshop, what the Secretariat did in preparing for this, just for your information.
Thank you very much, and I feel a little bit awkward. You know, we have 2 seats in between us, but probably we will fill these seats soon with colleagues that will come up. Just very briefly, few words on the preparation of this workshop. The Secretariat organized 2 open webinars, 19th of April, to gather views and perspectives and on the substance and the format of this 2017 in-session workshop. At the in-session workshop that was held in 2014, participants discussed the types of information and they provided participants opportunity to exchange perspectives. Developed country parties first submitted information on their strategies and approaches in 2014. In 2016, the same parties submitted information on their updated strategies. Secretariat made a compilation and a synthesis, and that was published in April of this year. In-session workshops in 2015 and 16 had a thematic focus on adaptation finance, needs for support to developing country parties, cooperation on enhanced enabling environments, and support for readiness activities. This is just to show you how from the very beginning, when the first long-term finance workshop were started, under the able co-chairmanship of Zahir and Georg, it continued on, and it was not just a one-shot operation. The COP22 in Marrakesh invited parties and relevant institutions to consider the key messages from the workshop, which among others focused on country-driven processes for the assessment of adaptation needs, challenges with regard to access to adaptation finance, the need for enhanced tracking of adaptation flows, and the role of private finance in adaptation. The objectives of this workshop, of today's workshop, parties decided at COP22 that the in-session workshop on long-term finance in 17 and 18 should focus on scaling up climate finance for mitigation and adaptation, and focus on experiences and lessons learned. In 2017, the in-session workshop that we have today will focus in particular on translating the needs identified by countries, facilitate climate finance access, and roles of policies and enabling environments for mitigation and adaptation finance as a cross-cutting issue. You see on the screen the information that this workshop is video screened, but on YouTube, but I believe without video, you just hear the sound and you see the slides. And you're also encouraged to fill out the survey at the end of the day, so that we all, and particularly the Secretariat, will get a feedback on content and on the structure. Finally, an announcement. We break at 1 o'clock, and right then I would kindly ask you to stay in the room, because the representative from the MDBs, the joint MDB group for climate finance tracking, will announce the first results of the inventory on the 2016 joint MDB climate finance data, something that we probably are all very much interested in. So that's at 1 o'clock, break for noon. Please stay in the room. It will be Karel Kronenberg from the European Bank for Reconstruction and Development that will give a very short brief 5 to 10 minutes maximum, worthwhile to stay on. With that, I pass it on to Janine for the first segment.
Thank you very much, Stefan. We will start our first segment with which will showcase country examples and provide various stakeholders